What's going on, guys? Styx here with the Token Minorities, bringing you my first upload as a part of the PPL, and this is week 6 of season 5 in the PPLD2 with us up against Slyroh and his Pittsburgh Pyroar. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And also, if you are new to the channel, here at TTM, we are a collaborative channel, meaning that there is more than just myself uploading. There is also Jolt, Danza, and Maddie Brawlick, all bringing you guys content, mostly draft format, but I also do some TCG, and Maddie brings you a quote-unquote fake news show whenever he's able to get around to it. So we have multitudes of different content, Pokemon-related content in particular, as this is a Pokemon channel, and a part of that, there is also a TTM Discord, which I will link in the description below. It's obviously a Discord where we will have channels for all of the members of TTM. We have the coach of the Kansas City Giraffe Chiefs, Jolt, who is doing very well in the GBA, myself, and Crobat for the Win, who is the coach of the Los Angeles Nido Kings. There is also a TCG channel and a Smogon channel, so whatever type of Pokemon you are into, we have a channel for that, so feel free to check that out. And yeah, sorry about that. That was too long of an intro. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the team. So like I said, I'm taking over for a team mid-season. We are currently 2-3, so I'm hoping to improve that record a little bit. And we are up against Slyroh, who is a very, very good battler, and his Pittsburgh Pyroar. Now, he has Tapu Bulu, Klefki, Mamoswine, Starmie, Mega Medicham, Scyther, Tyrantrum, Victini, Raichu, and Weezing. Now, there are a couple things that absolutely terrify me about his team. First and foremost, Mega Medicham hits insanely hard. And with Slowbro being one of the best counters and switch-ins to Mega Medicham in the game, the fact that he can actually abuse my own electric terrain, and I think an Adamant Thunder Punch in electric terrain can potentially 2-hit KO even max defense Slowbro. So, and also being at level 50, that means that attacks are going to do a little bit more. So I had to be very careful about that, and I have to prep well and play well around the Mega Medicham. And then also Tapu Bulu. Even though I additionally have two amazing ways of dealing with it in Charizard and Scizor, Tapu Bulu has different techs that it can definitely run to take those things out, and then also Victini. But Victini is one of those mons that you kind of have to somewhat prepare for it. Well, you obviously have to prepare for it as it's an absolute monster, but you can never fully prepare for a Victini just because of the myriad of sets it can run and the number of moves. I mean, it can go special and physical with equal success. So, I mean, I'm very, very scared of Victini, but I'm going to be more gearing towards preparing for Mega Medicham and Tapu Bulu more so than Victini, because my mons just kind of sort of deal with Victini well enough in general. However, looking at his team, I'm noticing that if I can get to +1 with Charizard, I just get at least 1 kill, if not 2. I mean, +1 Charizard is not outsped by anything on his team. I mean, Scarf Starmie would be the only thing that could guaranteed outspeed me, as Scarf Victini would have to rely on a speed tie, and then even then Victini would have to just hit me with a Psychic. It couldn't hit me with anything particularly super effective apart from Hidden Power, I believe. So Dragon Dance Charizard is going to be something that will just blow his team back, but also I have other mons that pressure him very heavily as well, and so I just had to balance my offensive pressure with my switch-ins to his mons so that my offensive powerhouses can do their work most effectively. I'm starting off with the Tapu Koko. I'm running a set of U-Turn, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, and Grass Knot with the Fairium Z. I went back and forth between Grassium Z and Fairium Z. Grassium Z obviously just nukes the Mamoswine, but I figured Fairium Z was better just all-around spammable move, as Mamoswine switching into a Dazzling Gleam and Grass Knot, unless it's Assault Vest, which I have run to take on Tapu Koko in the past. Mamoswine does not like switching into Tapu Koko regardless, so being able to just click Z Dazzling Gleam and hit something insanely hard is better as a stab option as well over clicking Z Grass Knot, as it just covers more mons on his team. U-Turn over Volt Switch because, I mean, he has Raichu and Mamoswine mostly. Basically, if I want momentum, I don't want it stopped, and I'm really not worried about the Volt Switch damage so much as I am just getting Tapu Koko out of there, scouting whatever he wants to switch in. as U-turn does decent damage, and if I want to take something out with an electric attack, I'm just going to go for Thunderbolt. So that's what the whole Tapu Koko set is, just outspeed stuff and be able to hit things insanely hard once his checks are gone. Now, this is a actually very straightforward set. The speed is to outspeed Adamant, Scarf Tyrantrum, or Adamant Tyrantrum at +1. Initially, I just outsped Starmie, but by putting a little bit more speed, I do give myself better ways of dealing with a potential Dragon Dance Tyrantrum, as once it gets to +1, it is very difficult for me to deal with, and if it's Adamant, it's going to be hitting insanely hard. So if it is Adamant, I can abuse that by running this Tapu Koko, which is faster than an Adamant +1, so it's less of a threat. Maxed out my special attack to hit as hard as possible, and then 92-4-4 just to be able to maximize the bulk from the rest of the EVs that I had. Next up, we do have Charizard, or Mega Charizard X in particular, with Roost, Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw, and Dragon Dance. Now, all I need is Dual Stab against his team. I don't need anything else, as his entire team is hit insanely hard by my Dual Stab. I mean, like I said, once I get to +1, I can just get a kill. I get at least one kill, if not two, more than likely two. And so what I'm going for with this set is just maximize my opportunities to set up with Roost. This way I can set up on like a Scyther, I can set up on a bulky Starmie. That way he can't just try to chip me down in order to take me out. He has to be able to just revenge me, or Charizard is going to take out his team. So that's what I was going for with this set. The speed is to outspeed Jolly Mammo. The max HP, like I said, is for more chances to set up. And also I take Life Orb Starmie hits, which otherwise can be a big problem for the team. So I mean, it's enough to take one hit and get up a Dragon Dance in order to be able to KO that thing with a Dragon Claw afterward, and then just rest into attack and 4-4 into the defenses to maximize my bulk. So I mean, so far two very straightforward mons. This next one is where it gets a little bit trickier, but at the same time it's, again, very straightforward. I have Defensive Scizor to help me take on Bulu and Mamoswine. So Slowbro is definitely going to be pressured in this game, as I'm relying on it to check a lot of his physical threats, like his main physical threats. I'm relying on Slowbro to check Mamoswine, Mega Medicham, Tyrantrum, Victini, and, well, not really Scyther, but yeah, those guys who can all hit insanely hard, so I needed something to lighten the load just a little bit. Scizor works perfectly to take on his last remaining physical threat, Tapu Bulu, but also doubles as a way of being able to take on Mamoswine, so that I can relieve a little bit of the pressure on Slowbro, because he can only bring 6 Mons. So by having two ways of dealing with his physical threats, I maximize the ability of my Mons to check what they need to and maximize my chances of winning. And with this set, it's just going to be a bulky Swords Dance set, because if I can get set up late game with his team weakened, SD Bullet Punch just runs through him, because if Starmie and Victini are weakened, which is relatively easy to do. Starmie, I mean, unless it's bulky, but I mean, if it's bulky, Charizard sets up on it. Mega Medicham, well, like, not Mega Medicham, but Victini will be dealt with Slowbro, and then also it's weak to rocks, which unfortunately I don't have on this team. But, I mean, it's still something. Like, Victini will wear itself down, particularly with the Slowbro set that I have. And so if I can get up to +2 with Scizor late game, which this bulky set allows me to do on multiple Mons, I can be able to win. And then also Roost and Knockoff are two things that are just very nice. Knockoff lets me get rid of items early game. Roost lets me come in and just roost up, be able to take hits from the Mons that I want to be able to take hits from. And then Akaberry, this allows my Scizor to be a 100% switch into Tapu Bulu. The only thing Tapu Bulu can really do is if he runs a special set with HP Fire, but with Aka, I'm even able to just guarantee that Scizor is going to be able to switch into Bulu. Otherwise, Bulu is a big problem for my team, but with this Scizor, I'll be able to take that thing on no matter what set it is running. The investment, 12 speed, just to kind of speed creep something that maybe wants to speed creep 4 speed Scizor. Max in, well, close to max in HP and defense, and then 4 EVs in attack and special defense, just to try to maximize the points that I'm able to get from my EVs. Next up, we have a Mon that is not set up at all, but is just something that threatens his team hugely and has a great speed tier for this matchup in Nidoking. Running a combination of Fire Blast, Earth Power, Focus Blast, and Toxic Spikes with a Life Orb just to maximize the damage that I'm able to do. Fire Blast and Focus Blast, as well as Earth Power, cover everything on his team. I mean, Dual Stab does very, very well against his team. Now, I was considering Thunderbolt, but Klefki with Magnet Rise would be able to take on that set pretty well. So I just decided that, you know what, I'm just going to go for Fire Blast. Fire Blast nails Bulu with Sheer Force and Life Orb regardless, so I really don't need to worry about Sludge Wave as much. Lets me hit Klefki harder and any other switch-ins that he might have. I mean, Spadef Weezing's another thing that I am expecting as a way of dealing with Nidoking. So Fire Blast is a way to hit that harder, and then Focus Blast is just good for being able to Oko the Mamoswine, which would otherwise be able to take in Earth Power and then KO me back. This is just my way of saying, no, you're just going to go straight down. Now, we also have Toxic Spikes, because he has nothing on his team that absorbs them. Yes, he does have multiple ways of removing them, but at least this way with Toxic Spikes, it pressures his team and forces him to try to get rid of that, and that's what I'm going for. So just a very straightforward Nidoking set with 3 moves and Toxic Spikes. The speed is in order to outspeed Mamoswine. I mean, that's going to be a common speed tier with some of my Mons. Well, mostly just Charizard and Nidoking. Max special attack, and then I divided the EVs among HP and the 2 defenses just to maximize the points that I'm able to get. And it is worth noting that even though I am at a quote-unquote Life Orb number with Nidoking because of Sheer Force, I don't have to worry about that anyway. If it was a Mon that didn't have Sheer Force and took Life Orb recoil, I would put in 1 point less, so that I would take 1 less damage from Life Orb each turn, but again, because of Sheer Force, I don't have to worry about that. Next up, we have the Mon that is basically going to be the glue for this team in this matchup, and that is going to be Rocky Helmet Slowbro. This is such a perfect switch-in to Mega Medicham. I mean, apart from, you know, the Adamant, Electric Terrain, Thunder Punch that could potentially happen and take out my Slowbro. So, yeah, I got to watch out for that. But Slowbro is going to be a switch-in / deterrent to his physical threats, which would otherwise definitely overwhelm me. I mean, Mega Medicham, Victini, and Mamoswine all hit insanely hard. Rocky Helmet Slowbro forces them to take damage when they hit me. It makes Victini think twice about clicking V-Create, something that it normally doesn't have to do, but Slowbro can just switch in, take the V-Create really easily, and then get Rocky Helmet off on the Victini, wearing it down for a potential late-game sweep from Scizor or whatever else I have. And then with Slack Off, it's able to come in and just recover and stall out whatever threat my opponent is trying to use to take it out. The set is fairly straightforward as well. I'm actually not going for any potential status moves on Slowbro because I'm using Toxic Spikes with Nidoking, and the only Mons that I would potentially be statusing with Slowbro are Mons that would be hit with Toxic Spikes anyway, so I'm able to just go with 3 attacks, Slack Off Slowbro. Slack Off obviously to take hits. Scald is a good spammable move against his team. Shadow Ball to hit the Mega Medicham and the Starmie super effectively. Starmie is a Mon that you would think to switch into Slowbro. This gives me a way of beating it, and also just one-shotting Mega Medicham if it does try to stay in to wear me down. And then Ice Beam is also to catch the Tapu Bulu on a potential switch-in, as that is another Mon, if you're not worried about the Scald Burn, that you would switch into Slowbro. So basically it's just 3 attacks, 1 spammable one, and 2 coverage ones for the potential Mons that he would switch in there. Very, very straightforward EV spread once again. I'm not doing anything particularly weird this week, just going straight forward and seeing how it goes for me. 12 speed to outspeed anything that would be trying to speed creep a 4 speed Slowbro, and then just max HP and defense with 4 and 4 to give me 1 extra point in special attack and special defense. So like I said, just very straightforward. And finally, we have the final straightforward Mon in Scarf Decidueye. Now against his team, he has 0 ghost resists. I can just click Spirit Shackle against something and get a good hit off at the very least. Starmie, Mega Medicham, and Victini, 3 of the biggest things that I'm worried about in this game, are hit super effectively by Spirit Shackle, whereas Spirit Shackle also has the added effect of being able to prevent anything from switching out that it hits. So that is something that I'm definitely going to try to take advantage of this game. Also, U-Turn and Leaf Blade just being, one, good for scouting, and Leaf Blade, if he does bring in Tapu Bulu and gets up the grassy terrain, is a very hard-hitting move that I can use against his team. And finally, Defog. If Klefki tries to spike stack against me, Weezing also gets toxic spikes. So if he just tries to hazard stack against me, I wanted some way of being able to deal with it. And so just threw Defog on Scarf Decidueye because it's not necessarily very likely that he goes hardcore spike stacking, but it's just something that I do want to have the option for, so that's why I put Defog in that last spot over, say, like Brave Bird, which I did consider, but I'm just going to be clicking Spirit Shackle, Leaf Blade, or U-Turn all the time anyway. So as for the set, the speed is to outspeed Adamant Tyrantrum. Once again, I unfortunately cannot outspeed it, even with Jolly, just because Tyrantrum, I believe, just has one base point higher, so I can't outspeed Jolly, but I can try to outspeed Adamant. Maxed out my attack to hit as hard as possible. I threw most of it into special defense, as I did want to be able to have this thing as a switch in to potential Raichu or Starmie, who could somewhat be a little bit of a problem. Like, I don't really have that great of switch-ins into Starmie, so Decidueye is a way of just not switching in all the time, but just having like a one-time, a little bit extra buffer area or buffer room in order to be able to switch into Starmie to be able to deal with that, and then 4 and 4 in attack and defense just to maximize my EV. So yeah, that is the team, and let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is he did not bring the 2 mons that I prepared the most for, being Tapu Bulu and Mega Medicham. So that's kind of a somewhat relief for me. I mean, first of all, I did feel like I was most prepared for those things, but I was most prepared for them because I did deem them the biggest threats to my team. So, I mean, it's kind of nice, but kind of less nice because in my prep for those mons, it means that I am less quote-unquote prepared for the mons that he did bring. I mean, Victini is always a gigantic threat due to the myriad of sets it can run. Raichu, when I saw Raichu, I had to laugh a little bit because Jolt actually told me as a joke in before Spadef Raichu, and I was like, nah, Raichu's not coming, and lo and behold, here it is. I mean, to be fair, it does not have to be Spadef necessarily, because it is able to take advantage of the electric terrain as well as Lightning Rod, making it immune to Tapu Koko's lightning, wow, I play too much TCG, electric attacks. And so that is something that I will definitely have to watch out for. Starmie and Mamoswine can both hit my team very hard if they click the right move on my switch-in, whatever I decide to go into on them. And then Klefki and Weezing are just 2 very annoying mons that are somewhat difficult to deal with if you do not have the right move set on a particular mon. So looking at his team, I think that, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and lead Decidueye. I mean, it's my Scarfer, I have U-Turn on it, I can just U-Turn out on something that I don't want to be in against, and then go into my threat, because I think once I have a certain threat in on a certain mon, I will just get a kill. It's just a matter of maneuvering myself into that position to where I don't sack a lot of mons, or to where I don't have to sack mons in order to get my threats in. So I'm going to lead with my Decidueye, as he does lead with his Victini, and this was kind of a, you can call it a ballsy play, but I really didn't think it was. So I'm going to stay in on turn 1 and U-Turn. Yes, if he was Scarf Victini, which is somewhat likely given that he did lead with it, I can just get knocked out by V-Create. But seeing that I do have a Slowbro, which is a 100% switch-in, which is normally a 100% switch-in to Victini, I think that he will probably U-Turn if he is Scarf, because, I mean, it gets decent damage on Decidueye, and if I try to go into something else to take the predicted V-Create or Bolt Strike or whatever I predict him to go for, he will get the momentum to go into the corresponding mon. So I'm just going to stay in and go for the new U-Turn, knowing that it is unlikely that he goes for V-Create, as he actually hard switches out, I guess, fearing Shadow Sneak or the Sucker Punch, and goes into Klefki. But with Klefki in, this means I get to bring in my Nidoking, and I get to get up my Toxic Spikes, as it will start wearing down Victini, Raichu, Starmie, and Mamoswine. Now, looking at his team, he has 0 switch-ins for Nidoking. And I know Sly is a very good player, so he is not going to just not have a team, or he's not just going to not have switch-ins for Nidoking. The fact that he went hard into Weezing. Weezing is the only thing on his team that resists my dual stab, and if you put in a decent amount of Spadef, actually if you put investment in Spadef, you can actually take on Nidoking and take hits from it. So I'm just going to go for the Fire Blast, knowing that there's nothing Weezing can do apart from like normal Gem Explosion to take out my Nidoking. I just want to scout out what this set is. Go for Fire Blast. That does less than half. That shows that he is 100% a Spadef Weezing, as he reveals the very, very cool Psybeam tech, and does 40%, meaning that technically I can have Nidoking beat Weezing 1v1 in this instance if I decide to just go for another Fire Blast, but one, that lowers Nidoking's health, which is not something that I necessarily want to do, and two, I am risking Fire Blast. I'm risking Fire Blast on the Weezing, missing and then not being able to beat it 1v1. So I'm just going to go into my Charizard on the predicted next Psybeam, as he actually goes for Destiny Bond. Now, this Weezing more than likely has Toxic. In fact, I can almost guarantee that it has Toxic. However, looking at his team, I just kind of want to punch a big hole in it with Charizard. I'm not thinking that Charizard will necessarily win the game on his own. I just think that Charizard will break early and then have the potential for Tapu Koko or Scizor or even Scarf Decidueye to clean up the game late game if I'm able to. So I'm just going to go ahead on this Weezing, go for a Dragon Dance. I mean, I wouldn't have gone for Flare Blitz anyway because I do not want to trade my Mega Charizard for a Weezing. So I go for the Dragon Dance as he does go for the Toxic. But what this means is I have a +1 Charizard. I'm going to Flare Blitz and I am going to get my kill right now. He decides to sack off his Weezing, which is actually pretty amazing. That means whenever my Nidoking is in, it does just get a kill on something with Earth Power. So that's awesome. And then he goes into his Klefki and I'm like, okay, I can get another kill as he goes for the Reflect, and it's like, okay, this is a Mega Charizard X, +1 attack. Klefki is weak to it. I don't care if you have a Reflect. I am going to just blow you away, as unfortunately my bulk investment does come back to bite me, as I'm not able to one-hit KO this Klefki, and it lives on 2%. It's like, ah, dang it, Charizard, you had one job, but I mean, you still did a very good job. I mean, Klefki's at 2%. It can die to, really, well, it dies to any hit on my team. Weezing is gone. That means that Nidoking is opened up to just run rampant through my opponent's team. But now that Charizard is having Poison rack up on it, I feel that I can still save it for later. I mean, if I end up outspeeding the Mamoswine or I'm in on something else later, I will have the opportunity, even just as a sack. Charizard is better as a sack than just dying. So I am going to switch out of the Klefki. As you can see, Poison will take me out next turn. I want to keep Charizard as a sack. Scizor is a 100% free play at this point, as he does just go for the Spike. Now that's a little bit annoying, but it's not a huge deal, as I'm just going to go for the Bullet Punch. I didn't care if he went Victini. I mean, Victini was a very obvious play. Just be able to take advantage of my Bullet Punch doing 7%. But at the same time, what this does do is force Victini to come in and get poisoned, which is essential for me to get it in range of Spirit Shackle from Decidueye for late game. So that was definitely worth it in my opinion. And now thinking that once again, he's going to predict me to go into Slowbro and will not go for the V-Create, I'm going to stay in with my Scizor, try to scout out this Victini. If he does go for the U-turn or the Bolt Strike, I'll be able to get a heavy hit off with U-turn. But unfortunately, as you can see, we will just end up having a roasted Scizor, as through the Aqua Berry, I go straight down. Now, if he hadn't killed me, it's worth noting that I did have a chance to live a V-Create from a Scarf Victini, or a non-banded Victini, or non-boosting item Victini. So if he hadn't killed, I would have gotten great information on the Victini, but it did kill. I mean, it was very heavily in his favor too, so I mean, that was just kind of a thing. I was like, you know what, I'm willing to sack Scizor. I have the Slowbro for the Mamoswine. I should be able to take it on just fine. I'm not too overly worried about it. So unfortunately, Scizor does go down right there, and he's still behind the Reflect. But because he went for V-Create, what this does do is mean that my Tapu Koko can come in, and I will outspeed every single possible iteration of Victini, even Scarfed, because of the speed drop. And actually, I'm I'm not really going to try to just take out this Victini this turn. I think, okay, U-turn's going to do enough, and if he stays in, I'm just going to go straight into Slyroh and take the V-Create as he's... I'm thinking he's choiced, but I mean, he might not be. But I would always just be able to U-turn into my Slyroh to take the hit and then go from there. But he goes into Raichu. And so, I mean, this is definitely, like, Raichu is... Raichu's his Coco answer. And so I'm able to U-turn into my Decidueye, and there is Lefty's Raichu. So it looks like SPDF Raichu actually is a thing, so Jolta, good call on that one. I'm just going to go into my Decidueye. I can take whatever hit he wants to go for, and just go for a Leaf Blade of my own, as it does about half. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to kill Raichu with anything, but Leaf Blade, whatever he wanted to switch in, would be able to hit that hard as well. It would hit Mamoswine and Starmie super effectively. Even through the Reflect, it would still hit decently hard. Klefki would be taken out. And at this point, Raichu is very low. So I'm in a pretty good spot. As his Mamoswine comes in, gets poisoned, and now I don't want to take an Ice Shard. I know Ice Shard is something that can take out my Decidueye, so not wanting to necessarily sack my Slyroh to a potential, like, if he predicts like banded knockoff into Earthquake, or banded knockoffs in, or 2 banded knockoffs, or 2 Life Orb Earthquakes, something to that effect. If he predicted me, I didn't want my Slyroh coming in and potentially getting 2-hit KO'd, so I do sack off my Zard right here in order to get the free switch into Slyroh, as I'm also wearing out the Reflect as well. That'll be very nice for U-turns and Decidueye later. And at this point, Mamoswine is going for knockoff. He did not reveal the Life Orb. I'm thinking that this... so either Mamoswine is locked into knockoff, or he is... or he's non-Life Orb. Well, he's obviously non-Life Orb. But either way, Slyroh would be able to come in and threaten the KO back with Scald. But knowing that he probably wants to keep his Mamoswine, because if he loses Mamoswine, then Tapu Koko, with Raichu at the range that it's at, will run rampant on his team. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, as Starmie does come in, and I get a very unfortunate crit. Now, I did get the prediction right. Shadow Ball did hit the Starmie for a really good amount of damage. But that crit did suck, as it's putting Starmie in range of 2 poisons. That way he can't just attack. If he has Recover, he has to go for that if he wants to keep the Starmie alive. And not wanting my Slyroh to go down to anything the Starmie has. Slyroh is way too important for Victini and Mamoswine. I'm going into my Decidueye knowing that there is 0% chance he goes for Ice Beam. He needs to try to take out the Slyroh. Like, if Slyroh goes down, then Victini and Mamoswine can win. So even though I was technically down 4-5, I still feel like I'm in the better spot, particularly because Starmie does go down right there to the Life Orb and the Poison. So, I mean, I'm in a great spot. My Decidueye is out. Mamoswine comes in, not wanting to get knocked out by Ice Shard. I still need this to outspeed Victini. I'm going to go in my Slyroh. I take the knockoff. I take it actually really, really well. And what this damage reveals to me is that he is not banded Mamoswine. And the fact that he brought it in on what was obviously my Scarf Decidueye, depending on the investment on the Raichu, that means that Mamoswine is more than likely Scarfed as well. So Slyroh is able to come in, eat up that knockoff, damage the Mamoswine, and now I'm just able to get a nice and free slack off. If he wants to stay in, Poison's going to be wearing him down. Otherwise, my Slyroh with Regenerator will be getting back to full health as he just goes into his Raichu. And now, knowing that this is SPDF Raichu, or more than or a support set at the very least, I'm going to go into my Nidoking, because I'm thinking, okay, there's almost nothing he can do unless he has HP Ice, and even if he does, he has Lefty, so he's not going to be hitting that hard and probably will not be able to take me out. So I'm just going to go into Nidoking and claim my kill with Earth Power, as he reveals to be Wish Raichu. Now that is freaking awesome. Unfortunately, because it is a support Raichu, it's not going to outspeed my Nidoking. The Wish goes to waste. I'm able to just knock that thing out with Earth Power. He goes into his Klefki, and I'm thinking, okay, I revealed the Earth Power. He's probably going to try to Magnet Rise to get a free turn. So I go for the Fire Blast, as he does just get up the Free Spike. I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's the right play to go for. I mean, if he had gone for Magnet Rise, all he would have gotten out of it was an additional Spike anyway, which he got by just placing that down right then. So Klefki goes down, and now I think that I do win the game. Slyroh, I think, will be able to beat Victini and Mamoswine. Now, Mamoswine comes in. And I'm thinking, okay, the only way he can win is if I get Electric Terrain up and Victini is scarfed and is able to crit my Slyroh. That's the only way that he can win, so I just had to avoid getting the electric terrain up, and Slyroh should be able to take home the game. Now, not wanting to switch in my Slyroh, I mean, I still need Decidueye if he locks himself into V-Create in order to outspeed and KO. I don't want Slyroh, like I said, to get 2-hit KO'd. I don't want the electric terrain to get set up. I'm going to leave my Nidoking in to get knocked out by whatever his Mamoswine goes for, as he goes for the knockoff and actually does not KO me, so I am able to have Nidoking pick up yet another KO on the Mamoswine, and at this point it's GG. There is no way he can win. If his Victini, okay, if Victini is not choiced, then it can't outspeed my Koko or my Decidueye. If it is Choice Scarfed, it can't lock itself into any move to beat me, because if Nidoking went down, like I said, the only way that Scarf Victini could win is if I got up the electric terrain and he crit my Slyroh. So that's obviously not something that I'm going to do. I'm not going to set it up with my Koko. And if he is Trick Room, which is the only way he could outspeed everything, then he wouldn't live Earth Power from Nidoking. So I do have him in a checkmate position right here, as he does go for the V-Create, knocks out my Nidoking. But now that he is at that stage of reduced speed, I'm going to go straight into my Decidueye, go for that Spirit Shackle, which also with the minus defense that Victini has right now, I'm going to be able to knock him out and take home the game. So Nidoking, 100% the MVP of this game, took 4 KOs, and Scarf Decidueye just being a very nice deterrent and Slyroh being fat. So that was a very good way for us to open up our stint in the PPL. I'm very excited to continue using this team, and definitely be on the lookout for the new transactions that I'm going to be having coming into these next couple weeks. So GG to Sly, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.